Bring in show music, please.
Hi, I'm CNBC producer Katie Kramer. Today on Squawk Pod. Vice President Kamala Harris appears to have won the backing of enough Democratic delegates. So what does this version of 2024 mean for your investing strategy? PIMCO's Libby Cantrill explains.
The takeaway is that right now, just given that the race has been upended, is that the chances of a Republican sweep are less than they were last week.
And
so if you are an ape, or if you have friends that are apes or friends that know apes.
AMC CEO and retail trader favorite Adam Aron joins us. His movie theater chain just scored a new debt deal.
It gives us years and years of breathing room. And it's coming at a time when the box office finally, after 4 tough, turbulent years, the box office is finally roaring back strong.
All that today, plus Warner Brothers Discovery is making its pitch to the NBA, and Delta still struggling post-IT outage. It is Tuesday, July 23rd. Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Becky by in 3, 2, 1. Cue it, please.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We are live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Becky Quick, along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin, and we are talking amongst ourselves already about this Delta outage. Hard to say exactly why Delta has been hit so much more than any of the other carriers at this point, but lots of flights coming up on this. I think we're all flying Delta in the next few days, so we all have some concerns about some of these issues.
It's a little bit concerned. Yeah, if you're flying Delta. Delta's having trouble figuring out where pilots and flight attendants are and whether they're available to be matched to trips. Because I mean,
everything was done on Microsoft there.
Right. You need a pilot. I would prefer two. Most of the time, just thinking the flight attendants. Flight attendants are. I like them to be there too, but not quite as important, right?
I want to see all of them.
Yeah, you need a full flight attendant staff just to make sure to satisfy all your needs.
The flight.
Right. Yes. It is, and for the safety and all that kind of stuff. But definitely need. Think about that. If you're trying to get pilots...
I have one for both of you.
What?
Just came up over the weekend. Do you tip the attendant?
The flight attendant?
Yes, I was talking to somebody who said they tip the attendant.
I do on Amtrak. That's funny.
I do on Amtrak.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't on...
Because you can't get off the frickin' train if you don't.
Oh, because they stand there as you get... Well, the flight attendants
and they remember you, and you're going to be on it again. Now, what do you get on Amtrak? $5?
Yeah, $5.
That's what I do.
For what?
Because they serve you
a drink or
a meal or whatever.
And you don't do that to the flight attendant on the plane?
Which is kind of silly. Maybe I should do it on the plane, too. Although I was reading about how in France you don't tip at all.
Right. Maybe you shouldn't do it on Amtrak. Instead of adding, let's do the Sorkin model, I think, right? Instead of adding the flight attendant on the plane, why not take off the person?
Quality.
On the
Nobody gets a tip.
And from now on, if things go well, there are not going to be any taxes on the tips.
Bingo. New overnight, Vice President Kamala Harris has secured the pledged support of a majority of delegates to the Democratic National Convention. She is now on track to formally lock up the party's nomination next month. Harris traveled to Wilmington, Delaware yesterday to meet with campaign staff and said she had asked Biden's campaign chair and campaign manager to stay in their roles. President Biden called into the event while isolating at home with COVID. He outlined a list of unfinished business, telling campaign staff that the name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all.
I know yesterday's news was surprising and it was hard for you to hear, but it was the right thing to do. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing, help me get this nomination, help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency. But, you know, you're an amazing team, but we've got a great, I think we made the right decision.
The White House saying the president is scheduled to return to Washington this afternoon.
Which is significant with all the stuff swirling around. The signature on Well, let all those things have the conspiracy theorists.
The conspiracy,
like he's on death's door.
I would not.
No, it doesn't
press the conspiracy theories.
Although he hasn't been seen, and he did walk up those steps. So he's a
Doesn't have COVID.
Elderly. Yeah, he has COVID. He's 81 years old. So I mean, the stranger, he could have been pretty sick from COVID.
It wouldn't match up with what they said. The White House doctor who saw him
doing all this
said that he was improving.
Right. Supposedly the symptoms are resolved, is what they said to him. How about Christmas? Who gets tips at Christmas? I'm like, oh my gosh.
I need a list, because every year just figuring out.
The mail guy, the guy that cuts my meat at everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. The audio engineer, someone just said in my ear. Someone just said, that's not right for you to use your ability to do that, to self-promote.
It's the voice in my head telling me I must tip the audio engineer.
And sometimes around Christmas, and I look and I go, oh my God.
You know what exhausts me is I never make a list. I never make a list. I never write down how much I give everybody. So I probably give people different amounts on different years just because I can't remember what I did the year before, and it's not a reflection of I like you less or more.
You have a spreadsheet, right? But it's weird. It's all zeros, isn't it? Is it?
I give more money than I can possibly conceive of.
And we're happy to do so because we're really lucky and fortunate.
Just like we're happy to pay our taxes. Think about it like that.
I'm not sure I'm happy to pay 55%. I do, and I will, and I don't, but that seems like a lot. Work until July 15th for Uncle Sam.
Oh
my goodness.
You're free and clear.
Celebrate.
What's today?
You're 8 days in.
Oh my God.
You're
I've
8 days
made
into
a week's
yourself.
worth. I paid off Phil Murphy. I've paid off everybody. Theater chain AMC said it's reached an agreement with creditors that extends nearly $2.5 billion of debt maturities from 2026 to 2029 and beyond. And this was a big deal. The agreement will also allow AMC to reduce its debt by $464 million by converting exchangeable notes into equity. CEO Adam Aron said that the box office challenges of the first half of the year related to last year's Hollywood strikes are now in the rearview mirror, and the recovery momentum is back. I can confirm that. I know people close to the industry that work, at a theater. And this weekend there's some big Marvel thing coming, and there's a Star Wars.
Is it Deadpool? Wolverine
I don't know which
weekend?
one, but there's a lot of things happening. This. For AMC, there were still serious concerns about viability, I guess.
Well, I was just thinking about what went through.
Because it was all coming
through COVID, everything shut down.
But with the debt,
come out of that, and then you have the strike that happened.
And for all the debt was due, like in 25 and 26.
Right.
That's the thing. Now this moves it out to 29, and could lay to rest most of the concerns about whether it's an ongoing concern. Adam Aron hasn't been on in a while. He's going to join us. So if you are an ape, or if you have friends that are apes or friends that know apes, you might want to tell them. Maybe we'll tweet something out that he's going to be.
Recently.
You did. But apes, attention all apes.
Warner Brothers Discovery says that it has informed the NBA that it intends to use its matching rights for a package of games that have been earmarked for another company. A person familiar with the matter says that the company is targeting the deal that was carved out for Amazon Prime Video. Warner Brothers acquired matching rights as part of its previous deal with the league, which expires at the end of next season. Those rights allow the company to match payment for any of the games that aired on TNT in the current deal. The NBA and its attorneys will now have to determine whether those rights extend to an all-streaming package, which had been carved out for Amazon. If the NBA rejects Warner Brothers' claim, it's unclear what would happen next, probably a lawsuit or a settlement. Disney and our parent company Comcast have also reportedly reached a deal with the NBA for media rights. A big part of this was news earlier this week that Amazon had put in a bit of a poison pill. They put the $5.8-something billion that's seen as the 3-year value for that deal, said that would go into an escrow account. The question was whether TNT would be able to match that with Warner Brothers. There are some sources saying that they would.
The thing that I can't understand about it is the reason this has taken so long is because the NBA has been trying to figure out how they could actually effectuate the deal.
Right.
And so I am imagining that you wouldn't go down this path if you thought you were going to be living, not that you may be living in some kind of legal morass for some period of time, but the idea that they would go down this path and think they would lose is, I have a hard time imagining. So I think it's going to be a tough one, don't you think?
It's a good time to promo the Olympics, I guess. LeBron's going to be the flag bearer.
Yes.
Saw
He was
that.
voted that by his 600-plus fellow Olympic athletes. From
And
the United States.
Xander Schauffele, who just won his second major of the year, will be defending his gold medal at the Olympics because golf is now played in the Olympics.
Next on Squawk Pod, what the really busy political news cycle means for your portfolio with PIMCO's head of U.S. public policy, Libby Cantrill.
The crazy thing is we had an assassination attempt as of last week, and now we're not even talking about it.
The investment decisions you can make as we count down to Election Day.
I joke with our clients, it's the election that no one wants.
We're back right after this. This is Squawk Pod.
Welcome back to Squawk. I'm here with Joseph Kernen, along with Becky Quick.
Get it right.
We're looking at the future.
And so we have 106 days until Election Day, and in that time, we have some hard work to do.
Vice President Kamala Harris has secured a majority of DNC delegates, moving closer to securing her party's nomination for president. Joining us now to talk about the race for the White House, Libby Cantrill, head of U.S. public policy at PIMCO. It's all about, I guess, for our viewers, we've been calling it the Trump trade. I guess it could be the Harris trade. Used to be the Biden trade. And then, just in summary, I think in your view, that development over the weekend, which some people call it surprising. I don't know if since the debate, I don't know how surprising.
It seemed inevitable.
Yeah, it seemed inevitable, but it lessens the likelihood or the probability of a red sweep.
At this point.
At this point, it lessens it. Trump is still favored, but it's definitely a more open race. So the Trump trade, you think, might not be as strong a move.
Look, this just reset the race. And we've had a number of events that have reset the race over the last 3 weeks. This has been really I would say, a historical stretch in sort of modern political history. Right. And so, yes, at this point, there are a lot of unknowns. So, I mean, versus last week where the market understandably was pricing in not only a Trump presidency, but potentially a pretty vast Republican sweep of both chambers, both the Senate and the House, things have changed since then. But again, it is early to tell. We don't even have really good firm polling on Harris versus Trump, particularly in the battleground states. So there's more kind of blank space here as of now, but we will likely have more information over the coming weeks and coming months. I think who she picks as her running mate now that she has secured the delegate allocation will be,
you think that's important?
More important than usual.
I do think it's, I think both of them. I think for President Trump too. Folks are, as we know, this is sort of, I joke with our clients, this is the election that no one wants. And so the down ballot, who's number two can actually, I think, help to either mitigate concerns or potentially increase concerns. And I think for Kamala Harris, because she doesn't really have much of a record as a vice president, she has been more in the background. Who your number two is basically your first real public decision of expressing judgment. And so I do think I think the stakes here are higher for her.
Probably more than normal. But as we point out, it could be a narrowing race. And the other wild card is Donald Trump. We have no idea But after the financial crisis, COVID, everything that's happened, the crazy stuff that's happened to us in the last 10, 15 years, should there be any surprise that there's an assassination attempt and then for the first time, I mean, no one's ever left the race. I think LBJ left in March. No one's ever left.
And he wasn't really in the race at that point. I mean, obviously the primary process was different in the 1960s. I mean, I think, Joe, the crazy thing is we had an assassination attempt as of last week, and now we're not even talking about it. I think that's almost, we're becoming so desensitized.
An inch to the right, we'd be talking about it a lot right now.
I think that, yes, it was. I think we were all very fortunate that he turned his head by a quarter of an inch. But I think for our clients here, I mean, again, the takeaway is that right now, just given that the race has been upended, is that the chances of a Republican sweep are less than they were last week. But to your point, that's not to say this is the race is going to be steady. And I think this is the other point, is that the race will be dynamic, and there will be a lot of more moving parts over the next 3 months or so. It's just that things have become sort of so asymmetric in terms of the normalization of the yield curve, which is what we care about for our clients.
Right.
That obviously retraced yesterday, and now there's more focus, I think, understandably, on the Fed versus the
and there's always
the
excitement
in that market.
I remember when I remember a lot, but I remember when Jerry Ford was picked sort of to take over, and initially there was a lot of excitement. There's always a lot of excitement, and there is right now a collective sigh of relief in the Democratic Party that they have, someone younger, someone that
there's hope.
There's hope. Exactly.
I think that's what we're seeing. There's hope and relief.
And there'll be excitement with the vice president, whatever picked. But then you get back to, okay, let's look closely at, exactly would she take us left of where Biden was, because she's basically a San Francisco Democrat, I guess one way of saying it. She did run for political office in San Francisco for a district attorney, so yes. The border stuff will come back up. All of it is going to come back, and it's going to be front and center. And then front and center for the Democrats will be that she's a prosecutor, and she can prosecute, the felon, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know how to
Well, and this is, I think, why that caveat at this point is just so important, because there's just, again, a lot can change here. She is unknown. I mean, even though she's been in Washington for 3.5 years.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the race that she ran in 2020, she didn't necessarily have a lot of firm beliefs. She did equivocate on many things. And so some of those issues that haunted her in 2020 may certainly haunt her.
No idea.
I just think that if you're looking at this point, there's just a lot more dynamism in this race than there was last week.
I watched her last night, and we're going to build the middle class out. I'm going to continue to do what Joe Biden did. But then her main selling point was, I've prosecuted sex offenders, and we got one here I'm going to prosecute. I mean, that seriously was that was her pitch to the rabid crowd that was watching.
I think specifically she said, I know his type. I know Donald Trump's type. That's what she said.
But I think what's interesting about this, I don't know if you feel this way, President Biden was not prosecuting the case at all. Exactly. Meaning, when I say he was not even out there. And the truth is, if you look
what
at
it means, what does it mean? I'm going to prosecute.
But forgetting about the prosecuting the case, meaning when I say prosecuting the case, meaning
you're saying that the Justice Department had nothing to do with.
No. I'm saying that you did. I'm saying you didn't really have. In President Biden, you did not have anybody out there who was out there constantly. Both campaigning and, frankly, criticizing the former president, while you had the former president out there campaigning, and a huge part of his plank was to criticize the current president.
You didn't hear Biden saying that it's about democracy and saving the republic?
Yes, but very infrequently.
And even in the debate, and I think
what was he saying? I heard it pretty.
Yeah, I would just say one of her main focuses has been on reproductive rights, and that is something that Biden, you would think, would have been able to prosecute or litigate in the debate.
Though.
And he just wasn't, and he wasn't able to.
That's the one thing people point to with her now, that she was able to find some footing.
And this was exactly, she sort of found footing on this particular issue, particularly among young people. And so I think the reason why you're seeing so much exuberance, and potentially it is rational exuberance here among the Democratic Party, is that there is sort of hope and optimism that at least you have somebody who can make the case. She may not win the case, especially with voters in November, but at least she can make the case. And I think the argument with President Biden is he was just simply not equipped to be making that case.
Heard quite a bit. Exactly 34 felonies, right? I mean, I think it's all front and center of those.
They're back on their talking points.
Those talking points are out there, Andrew. I've heard it a few times.
But if you're a down ballot Democrat, this is exactly what you want. Because I think the concern was that, again, even if she loses their seats, I mean, they were out polling Biden, but I think that was only going to go so far. So if you're a member of the House or a member of the Senate in a vulnerable seat, that is why I think there's much more optimism here. Again, it may be short-lived as things sort of settle, but I think, again, there's a lot more white
you don't even know what
J.D.
Vance was talking about, the devil yesterday being real or something. So there's a lot of...
That was from 2021.
No, but he also gave a speech yesterday, though, where he was saying, he's a wild card, too, at this point. They're saying that might have been a mistake, given that it's no longer a slam dunk. But, We only
It's still
have
early.
103. We only have 103 days.
Yeah, this is the bottom line, I think, with our
to enjoy
clients.
each other, Andrew.
It is still
103
early,
days left, yeah.
even though it feels like this is the longest general election cycle ever.
Come back.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Becky.
Live through this with us.
Cheese will be next.
Attention apes. Coming up on Squawk Pod, AMC, movie theater chain and retail investor favorite, has locked in a new debt deal, and CEO Adam Aron says it's only one of multiple tailwinds for his business.
We produced the Taylor Swift Year in Store movie, which was the first movie that AMC has ever distributed in over a century. But right behind that was a Beyonce movie. Beyond that, we did a listening event for Billie Eilish's album release in May. We have more concert film announcements coming.
And here's a surprise. It's sort of thanks to Joe Kernen.
All I get is your gratitude and Scott's gratitude, I guess.
A big thank you in front of all your viewers. How's that?
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Squawk Pod.
Up and Becky, Q.
You are watching Squawk Box on CNBC. I'm Becky Quick along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Movie theater chain AMC reaching a new debt restructuring deal. The agreement will extend the maturity of potentially $2.5 billion worth of AMC's debt and reduce its overall debt load by more than $460 million. Joining us now, AMC CEO Adam Aron. And I know you're out of the country. You're in Turkey, Adam, and we haven't seen you, I don't think, in a while. You haven't been on CNBC or Squawk Box in over a year, I don't think. This was something you really wanted to talk about today.
Well, I saved this moment for the biggest news that AMC has made in years. I just can't even tell you how important it is that we extended our debt maturities from 2026 to 2029. It gives us years and years of breathing room. And it's coming at a time when the box office finally, after 4 tough, turbulent years, the box office is finally roaring back strong. It started in early June with Inside Out 2. Despicable Me 4 was a big hit. Twisters opened big this weekend. Deadpool and Wolverine, which opens this week, might be the highest grossing R-rated film in history. And as we look ahead, we've got so many big movies coming this fall and in 25 and in 2026. So the fact that our first lien lenders and our second lien lenders have agreed to give us another 4.5 years or more to pay back our debt or to refinance it further down the road, this is an enormous step of progress, an enormous vote of confidence in AMC's future.
Part of the deal would be, I guess, to retire some of the debt through equity, and the stock initially went up on it. So that other times in the past where you've had to do that, Adam, the stock has gone down. So there was a real concern in the marketplace about the viability long-term of AMC, you would say, with debt maturities that were in 25 or 26. So this takes that off the table. You're going to be around and be there for the recovery in the motion picture industry after the strike.
Joe, you just said it perfectly. The press has been filled the last several months with anxiety that AMC might not be able to fund the $2.6 billion that was owed in April of 2026. And there was lots of loose talk about, in the press, not by us, about the risk of bankruptcy. I mean, I've been quoted over and over again saying I thought that was inconceivable and that we would be taking steps to assure AMC's future. And that's what we did yesterday. I would remind everybody, January of 2029 and April of 2030, our next very large maturity dates are years and years away from now. And as I said, it's coming at a time when the box office is finally roaring back. Our profitability will rise if, as, and when the box office rises. This is all just such a good news story for my company and for our shareholders.
What did you have to give up to get the debt restructured? Did you put some of the physical properties in? I don't know. Is there a lien on those, Adam? How did you get the lenders to agree?
Well, I think one of the ways we got them to agree was to show them how well we've been running the company since COVID hit in March of 2020. Our company raised over $3 billion of equity underneath the debt in the capital structure to buttress and strengthen the company without asking our lenders for any concessions at all. And they rewarded us for that. There's a whole series of collateral changes between one debt instrument and another. Some interest rates went up, some interest rates went down because we took some of our second lien debt and turned it into a convertible debt issuance instead. The deal is very complicated, and I would encourage any investor who wants to know more to go to our SEC filings where it's laid out in excruciating detail. But the reality is we didn't give up much of anything. We just convinced our lenders that this company has been run well. This company has the support of consumers. The box office is finally growing again, and we should be there to take advantage of that. They agreed with us, and we have all the time in the world to get there now.
You going to produce any more movies? I mean, is that a new model? And how did that, the Eras Tour, the most successful concert film ever, did that give you a little bit of a bridge in terms of incremental revenue?
Yes, and yes, Joe Kernen. And I'm going to share something with your audience that they may not know. Yes, the Taylor Swift The Eras Tour is the most highest grossing concert film in history, is the highest grossing documentary in history. Guess who AMC owes Taylor Swift The Eras Tour movie to? Obviously to Taylor Swift, but also to Joe Kernen. Because I got a call from you saying, you really ought to turn the Eras Tour concert into a movie, and I can introduce you to Taylor and her camp. And I took you up on that invitation. So I give you full credit. And not only did we produce the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie, which was the first movie that AMC has ever distributed in over a century, but right behind that was a Beyonce movie. Beyond that, we did a listening event for Billie Eilish's album release in May. We have more concert film announcements coming, some in the very near future. And we're very excited. This is a new line of business for AMC. And I guess we owe it all to you for the idea, but especially to Taylor and Beyonce and Billie and the world-class artists who are going to be next in line.
It was a strange confluence of events. I'd known Taylor's dad for a long time, and they had been speaking to the studios and not hearing what they wanted to hear. And it occurred to me, would it even be possible after that law to go directly to a distributor? I go, Scott, have you heard of AMC? And he goes, AMC, what is AMC? America, and I said, do you know the theater? He said, I know the Bijou Theater in my hometown. I go, well, AMC is the biggest theater chain. What about going directly to them? And then, as you know, I called you. He said, yeah, I'll talk about it. I called you, you called him, and I was shocked 3 months later that, but the check's in the mail, is that it? How much did you make? No, I don't, that won't work. All I get is your gratitude and Scott's gratitude, I guess.
A big thank you in front of all your viewers. How's that? But yes, this movie grossed $271 million. And it was the beginning of a whole new line of business for AMC because Beyonce's movie was big. There are more concert films coming. These are, if you think about all the challenges that have been thrown at AMC since COVID, I don't think there's a company that I can remember that's had to deal with all of the trauma and difficulty and industry pain. And remember, with the exception of these concert movies, we don't make movies, we just show them. And we rely on the major studios for most of our content. And it's been a tough 4 years, a very tough 4 years. But fortunately for us, retail shareholders embraced AMC, they invested in AMC, they threw their love, their heart, and their passion in AMC. Obviously, they were happier when the share price was going up than when the share price was going down. But, in the past 2 months, AMC's share price is up 81% in 2 months. And I think that the fact that the box office is coming back and that yesterday we were able to announce almost a 5-year runway before our major debt maturities are due, these are just enormously positive steps forward for AMC. And I'm happy to talk about them here with you today.
Well, that is 25 and 26 is right around the corner. We know that now, Adam, as we get a little bit older, and that definitely gives you the breathing room necessary. And we've talked about it a lot. I can't imagine a world where you don't have a big opening for a blockbuster movie. That's just never going to be on your TV screen at home. Hopefully there will always be, that great artificial buttered popcorn to watch a big movie with. I don't want to live in a world without AMC.
They're coming, and they're coming right now, Joe.
They are.
This coming Friday, Deadpool and Wolverine opens. We think it has a chance of being the highest grossing R-rated film in history. Just this fall, there's another Joker. Universal has Wicked coming out, a great movie of the Broadway musical. Alien sequel is coming out in August. Disney's got Moana. There's a Mufasa Lion King movie coming out at Christmas. And as you go into 25 and 26, I mean, it's just staggering. There's going to be another Avengers movie. There's going to be another Star Wars movie. There's going to be another Avatar movie.
Yep.
It's just one after another. Mission Impossible 8. There are so many good movies coming out. And that's why we're so optimistic about AMC's future, so bullish about AMC's future. Look, it's been a very, very tough 4 years. But I think we've navigated turbulent waters about as skillfully as they could be navigated. Our shareholders have stayed with us. Our millions of retail investors, our lenders proved just yesterday they've stayed with us. And finally, I think the good times are about to roll.
Great. Adam, thank you for bringing that to us and for bringing it on CNBC exclusively. So appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
And that's Squawk Pod for today. Thank you for listening. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Tune in weekday mornings on CNBC at 6 Eastern. And to get the smartest takes and analysis from our TV show, all 3 hours of it, right into your ears in an easy-to-listen-to half-an-hour podcast, well, follow Squawk Pod wherever you listen. That's it. We'll meet you right back here tomorrow.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.